I would love nothing more than to just tap into all that you've seen, getting these glimpses through your work, and now this docu-series. It's really incredible. So you must be
Thank you.
proud, and I can only congratulate you on all of the work that you've done thus far.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I am proud and grateful that it all worked. It was a heavy lift, but we had a lot of luck along the way.
Watching the series, we get to see things that we've never seen before, which is traditions passing down from one generation to the next in these very intimate whale encounters. As beautiful as it is to watch with all these unique facts that we learn along the way, what is perhaps something that I will never understand about these majestic sea creatures unless I've been in your shoes and seen and learned all the things that you have?
Hmm. Wow, that's a really interesting and great question. I don't know specifically. I can only tell you that the time that I spend with whales in the ocean, when they allow me into their world, is quite unlike anything else I've ever experienced. I've been photographing wildlife in the ocean and on land for over 4 decades, but there's something very special about being with these big-brained, sentient, complex society creatures that could easily leave me in their wake if they want to swim away, and many times they do. But when they choose to engage or at least tolerate my presence, it is awe-inspiring. And you see not only the science unfolding, you see the cultural behaviors, you see the tenderness between a mom and calf and so forth. And many of these things, of course, we do have in Secrets of the Whales. But you see what I would describe as joy. You see grief, a mother carrying its dead calf. And again, we have this in the series. So I think we did as good a job as possible of trying to give those visual contexts to those emotions and to those cultures. But, being in the presence of a 45-foot long, 70-ton whale, you feel so small, and yet they are not only aware of you, but in many cases engaging. I think that's sort of a rarefied plane of human encounter with wildlife. So I'm not sure that there's anything beyond watching the series or looking at the other material we're producing on Secrets of the Whales that would be something that I would know that you wouldn't know. But I think the experience is probably what transcends any of those media, perhaps.
Yeah, like I can only imagine just from the seeing the footage of what, like when the humpback whales come up, and I love that the series gives us a slight glimpse into, because I'm always curious about the process of making these
Yeah,
documentaries. Of
exactly.
sitting there, it's a waiting game. You're waiting to find these beautiful moments to happen, and sometimes you're sitting out there all day long, and then that's it.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, one example of that with sperm whales, one of the locations that I I worked frequently was Dominica in the Eastern Caribbean, and I worked with a scientist who'd been working there for 15 years, and he knows that if he goes out X amount of days, predictably he will have a pretty high percentage of finding whales. Well, on my second trip to Dominica, I went for 5 weeks. Hoping to get, great stuff. But the first 3 weeks, we didn't see a whale. So, on day 19 or 20, you're just banging your head against the wall. It's like, oh my goodness, and the scientist is saying, well, this has never happened before. So of course, that's not what you want to be hearing. So you're right. Patience is a big part of it. But when it happens, when those whales burst up in Alaska and you've picked the moment and you've got your drone in the sky, in the right place, which is kind of like whack-a-mole. You never know when they're going to come up or where, or when you have those moments with other animals. It is extraordinary. Yeah.
Right, right. So when you're in a potentially dangerous situation, I know that these whales, like they're very friendly, but you never know what can happen with like everything else that's going on in the sea. So when you're in those potentially dangerous situations, how do you maintain focus and capture history and beauty with your camera?
Wow, that's a really great question. Nobody's ever asked that. Yeah, I think, to my feelings, it just comes down to having done this for a long time and incrementally gained the experience around big animals in the ocean. you make a good point. You're in an alien environment. We can't function underwater without life support equipment or holding our breath, which is mostly what we're doing when we're filming whales. So the goal of looking through that viewfinder and capturing those beautiful moments is paramount. But at the same time, you're right. You have to stay alive. These whales are very aware of our presence. They are very polite. They don't ever go out of their way to hurt us or bang us or do anything. And 99.9% of the time, it's fine. But you're right. An accident could happen. A tail could swing a certain way, or a pectoral fin, and that could be lights out for me. So I think it's just vigilance. I've learned to be looking through the viewfinder if I feel like I'm, in a place where I could maybe be hit by a tail or something. I'm sort of always looking around, and it's exhausting almost, because you're looking through the viewfinder and then you're spinning around, you're looking through the viewfinder. So it's kind of this constant stressful game of always being vigilant, but being in the zone as well. So it's come from, I think, me doing this for decades. Yeah.
Gotcha. Peeking into these whales' culture, how has these 3 years of documentation changed the way that you live your life, and perhaps focusing more so on how each individual sea species or whale that we get here, with the orca, humpback, beluga, and the sperm whale, how they live, their traditions, how has it changed the way that you approach or live your life?
Yeah, I've thought about this quite a bit since we wrapped up. It was an unprecedented experience for me to dedicate so much time, 3 solid years, to a single story, if you will. And I think what I came away with was sort of a reminder of what I already knew, and that is that we need each other. What I've seen is that, whales make time for socialization. Sperm whales, for example, these are the mighty, Leviathan that Melville wrote about in Moby Dick and portrayed them as monsters. And what we see is that they're actually shy and gentle animals and spend most of their life in the deep ocean foraging for squid. They're down, hundreds of meters every day doing this constantly. Life in the ocean is hard, but yet every day or every couple of days, they make time. These families, these matrilineal societies led by the older, wiser females, they come together and they socialize. They just sort of rub and gently play and bite each other. And, it's a reminder for somebody like me who spends 8 or 9 months a year traveling for the last 25 years doing stories for National Geographic. You're on this hamster wheel. And I know family is important. I know social bonds are important, but yet we're running on that hamster wheel. We need to make time. We need to, I think maybe if anything during the pandemic, and we've slowed down a little bit, it's helped us reimagine what our lives should be. And I see that with the whales. I see the tenderness between a mother or grandmother and an orca calf, or the belugas who, are up in the Arctic and travel hundreds of miles to get to this one place in the summertime where they have their babies and socialize. And yet we captured behavior that had never been seen before with these remote cameras that I built, where they're picking up little stones and playing with them during the day. So, how wonderful is that? It reminds me that, there are these perfect little pebbles around me every day that I need to just pick up and carry because it brings joy. And that might mean, having coffee with a friend, or calling a relative, or just, doing things that the whales have reminded me are important.
Yeah. They just wrapped me, but I really could sit here all day. I have so many more questions.
We'll have to do it again, man. I love your questions. Really, really insightful stuff.
Great. I'd be happy to. Well, I look forward to where you go from here, and I'll be following your work.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.